In this video, we are going to continue the work we began in class, and we're going to be looking at graphing exponential equations. An equation is called exponential if it has a variable in the exponent. You can see the word exponent right here inside of exponential. So a is going to be a number, could be a whole number, could be a fraction, could be a decimal, but it's just going to be a number, and then x is going to be your variable up there in the exponent. Turns out there are two basic types of exponential equations, and both of them are very useful in the world outside of school. The first one is where this number a is bigger than 1. And the x, you can see, doesn't have a negative or anything on it, it's just plain old x, but a is a number larger than 1. When you have this situation, you have something called exponential growth. Exponential growth is one of the fastest growth models that we have. And when you do this, you guys saw when we did our lab in class that it starts out very flat and it shoots up on the right-hand side of the graph very quickly. So some things follow a pattern of exponential growth: compound interest, population growth. This is particularly bacteria, but there are other things that could model growth using an exponential. And both the speed and the power of computers are growing exponentially. All right, differently from that is this one. I still have a to the x here, but look, I'm changing a. A is going to be a number in between 0 and 1. So a fraction that is less than 1 or a decimal that is less than 1 will meet this. And these are the opposite. These are exponential decay instead of exponential growth. And in this case, the graph starts very high on the left-hand side and it flattens out as it moves to the right. So some things in real life that follow a pattern of exponential decay: the visible light spectrum, as it moves this way as it gets lower. Sound follows a pattern of exponential decay. And you guys have probably talked about in chemistry, radioactive decay. Okay, so let's look at some characteristics of each of those. So first of all, let's look at the growth models where a is greater than 1. So a is never going to be equal to 1. Let's look at what that would look like. Let us suppose that we had a graph and it was y equals, oops, put my 1 in the wrong place. Y equals 1 to the x power. Okay, so think about the number 1. If you raise 1 to any power, 1 to the second, 1 to the 43rd, 1 to the negative 7th, 1 raised to any power, all of those are going to be equal to 1. So there's no growth or decay. It's just a horizontal line at y equals 1. So those don't model exponential growth or decay. So we're looking specifically where a is greater than 1. We're not considering the case where where a is equal to 1. Okay, so if I have a number that is larger than 1 and I raise it to the 0 power. All right, type that in your calculator real quick. Anything bigger than 1 raised to the 0 power, type in like 5 to the 0 and then type in 12 to the 0. What do you get for your answer? Well, anything raised to the 0 power is 1. So what that tells me is that when I get ready to graph this, I am going to have a point right here on 0, 1. And it doesn't matter what a is. If a is something larger than 1 and I raise it to the 0 power, I get 1. So I like to call that my anchor point. When we get ready to start doing transformations, it helps if we have a place to move from, and my anchor point is going to be that point. Now that's just my personal thing to call it. When you take your college algebra or your college pre-cal class, for example, your teacher is probably not going to call it an anchor point, but just in my mind, that's the way it works. And so I call it the anchor point to kind of help us refer to it the same way. So what happens in my function as the exponent gets larger? As x gets closer and closer to positive infinity. So let's say that a is 3. So I have 3 to the 0, which is 1. And then I have 3 to the first. And I have 3 to the second. And then 3 to the third. And what is happening to the answer that I get? Well, you can see that as the exponent gets larger, 0, 1, 2, 3, the answer that I get gets larger as well. So let's write that down. The answer gets larger. And it gets really large really quickly. So that's why I said exponential growth is one of our fastest growth models. It's going to be at 1, it's going to be 3. And then at 2, already it's way up here off the graph at 9. I can't even draw up that high. And then it's going to be at 27 and then 81. And it's just going to be very, very, very fast going upwards on that right-hand side. Okay, now what happens as our graph, what happens to our graph as our exponent moves towards negative infinity? So again, I'm going to start at that 0. 3 to the negative 1. Do you remember from your algebra that we did before? Negative exponents are the reciprocal. So this is going to be 1/3. 3 to the negative 2, well, that's 1 over 3 squared, and 3 squared is 9. 3 to the negative 3, that's 1 over 3 to the positive 3, 1 over 27. Okay, so look what happens. As my denominator gets larger, my fraction as a whole gets smaller. 1/3 is bigger than 1/9. 1/9 is bigger than 1/27. So smaller, smaller. It's getting smaller as we go. So at negative 1, I would be at 1/3. At negative 2, I'm going to be at 1/9. Negative 3, 1/27. Negative 4 would be 1 over 81. And you can see that it's getting closer and closer and closer to that x-axis. So then I have a question for you. Will it ever get to the point where I can say 3 raised to some power is going to be 0, where it's actually going to touch the x-axis? Well, the answer to that question is no. 3 is a positive number, and it doesn't matter how many times I multiply it by itself or I flip it and then multiply it, I'm never going to get to 0. Is there a time when 3 to the x could equal a negative number? Can I make it small enough that it'll be negative? Well, no, it's the same thing. 3 itself is positive. So at no point is it going to be able to go down and be negative. So when I connect the dots, let me get some space over here. I'm going to have to go up very quickly over here on the right-hand side. All right, so I am going to put, starting from here, it's going to go up very quickly, and I'm going to put an arrow to show that it continues to go up. Now over here on the left-hand side, it's going down, but it's going down much more gently. It flattens out, but notice how I drew it where it never actually reaches the x-axis. There should always be a little bit of space in between the x-axis and my graph. And there's an arrow over there also to show that it goes on and on forever to the left, but at no point is it going to cross or touch the x-axis. So what happens is we have here on the x-axis kind of a boundary line, and the graph cannot ever go below or touch that boundary line. A boundary line like that we call an asymptote. So if you'll write that on your paper, that line, in this case, it is the line y equals 0. It's the horizontal line that is the x-axis, and that is what we call an asymptote. The graph gets very, 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 very close to it. The farther to the left you go, the closer you are going to get. But at no point are you actually ever going to reach it. Okay, let's look then at this one. Let's look at exponential decay. All right, so notice that we have that this a value is less than 1. Again, there is no equal to 1 because that doesn't grow or decay. And then notice on this side, it is not equal to 0. So if I raise 0 to the 0 power, I get something that's called indeterminate, and that's not something that we're going to be working with. And then 0 raised to any other power, right? If I multiply 0 by itself however many times, it's always going to be equal to 0. So the same kind of idea as why we don't make it equal to 1. It's just going to flatten out. It's going to be a horizontal line, with the exception of the fact at 0 itself, you're not going to be able to graph that. Okay, so let's look at some key features here. Let's look at what happens when I raise it to the 0 power. Okay, so just like before, a can be anything as long as it's in between 0 and 1. So let's say a is 1/3. If I raise 1/3 to the 0 power, well, anything other than 0 raised to the 0 power is 1. So I have that anchor point in the same place. So far, there's no difference when I have it as a number in between 0 and 1. But let's look at what happens as my exponent gets larger. As I go toward positive infinity, so I'm going to do 1/3 to the first, and then 1/3 to the second, and 1/3 to the third. Well, do you notice that these are the same fractions as what I got last time? So I've got 1/3, 1/9, 1/27. These are the identical fractions. It's just that this time I'm finding those numbers as I move to the right because 1/3 is less than 1. So here I've got 1/3 and 1/9 and 1/27 and 1/81, and it's going to keep going in that direction. Just like before, is it ever going to get to the point where it equals 0? Is there anything that I can raise 1/3 to, and I'm going to end up getting 0 as the answer? Well, just like before, the answer to that question is no, because 1/3 is a positive number. I can't take that positive number and multiply itself any amount of times and end up with something that's 0. Same thing for negative. I can never be negative. It's going to stay above the x-axis. Okay, so let's go the opposite way. What happens as x moves towards negative infinity? So as I move to the left, I'm going to start off with that 1/3 to the 0 equaling 1, just like before. So now I've got 1/3 to the -1. Okay, so we just said this, that negative is a reciprocal. So this is going to end up being 3 to the first, which is 3. All right, if I do -2, I'm going to take the reciprocal on that. So I will get 3 to the +2, which is 9. 1/3 to the -3, same thing. I'm going to take the reciprocal, and I'm going to end up with 27. So this time, when it goes up really, really high, is on the left-hand side of the graph. So -1 is going to be right here at 3. And then beyond that, it goes up so quickly that I can't make it onto my graph anymore. So in this case, the higher part of it, the part that's shooting up, is the part that's on the left-hand side. So if I connect the dots, I'm going to start from way up here, connect down. Okay, so just like before, this one's heading upwards towards infinity, going up very, very quickly. And on this side, it's flattening out. It's never going to reach 0. It's just going to get very, very close to it. Okay, so what was the word that you wrote on your paper earlier to tell you what that meant? That word was asymptote. So this time, the asymptote is on the positive part of the x-axis. That's my asymptote that I have right there. Okay, a couple of things you need to be aware of when you look at this in your calculator or in Desmos. I did a graph from both places of 3 to the x so that you could see it. And you can see that either the calculator or Desmos doesn't have any problem finding that anchor point at 1, right? I've got both of those. It doesn't know how to do arrows. I'll put some arrows on there for it. It just doesn't know how to do that. But look what happens on the x-axis on both of them. You guys see how that looks like it is the x-axis? Like it looks like it's laying right on the x-axis. Well, this is an opportunity where you have to be smarter than the technology that you have. There's no way that they can draw this close enough to the x-axis and yet still be off of it. The distance, like once you get out here to -6, the distance between the x-axis and the exponential curve is so small that your calculator or Desmos or any other technology package that you happen to use, it can't draw it off of it unless you zoom, 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 zoom in. So when you do this on your test, you need to be aware that it looks like it's touching the x-axis, but it's not. It's just a limitation of the technology. So make sure if you use your calculator for tests or for quizzes or whatever, that you remember that's not actually what's happening, and so that you draw it correctly on your test or draw it correctly on your homework where it doesn't actually touch the